welcome to this special tutorial to teach you 3 different ways to make a easy and successful pom-pom. You will need your yarn, a pair of scissors, and then I will show you for each method any additional materials that you may need. When starting your pom-poms, you will need whatever yarn you choose to use, and you can make a pom-pom out of any type of yarn. So today we're just going to use some acrylic yarn that I have that will match one of the hats that I have already made. And then the most important thing you will need in making a successful pom-pom is some very sharp scissors. It doesn't matter what type of scissors as long as they are sharp. Now, if your scissors become dull, you can go to Walmart, Michael's, any craft store and get a pair of scissor sharpening tool. But if you don't have a scissor sharpening tool, you can always go into your pantry or cupboard, wherever you keep it, and grab some aluminum foil. And then just sharpen them by cutting the foil a couple times. Now, if you have a really expensive pair of scissors, then you might want to go and have them professionally sharpened if you don't have a sharpening tool. And mine is Fiskars, and I did actually purchase this one at Walmart. I was thinking it was Michael's, but I do believe I purchased this at Walmart. So, but I know Michael's has them, and I'm sure Joann's may as well. All right, and these are Fiskar scissors. I just like Fiskars. It just happens to be that both of these are Fiskar. It was not planned that way. I bought them at 2 separate times. In fact, I bought this scissor sharpening tool probably about 3 years ago, and I bought these scissors probably about 1.5 years ago. And these I know I bought at Hobby Lobby actually. So the first method requires using a tool that you should be able to find in your silverware drawer, and that is a fork. And however big you want your pom-pom to be would determine what size fork you would use. We're going to make a bigger pom-pom, so we're going to use the largest fork that I have. And to get started, you're going to grab your yarn and you're just going to hold it on there and start wrapping until you can let it go. All right. Now, as you're wrapping, you want to make sure that you're utilizing the large portion of the fork. But you want to make sure the little openings here that you leave just a little bit of it uncovered. And then you just want to keep wrapping. And you want to try and keep the majority of your pom-pom wrapping on the widest part of the fork. You don't want to go down to the smaller end here. So I'm going to keep pushing that way. 1, because you don't want to change the size of your pom-pom, and 2, you don't want it sliding off your fork, because then you have a hot mess and you have to start over. And with any method that you're doing, the more yarn that you wrap around for your pom-pom, the tighter and the prettier your pom-pom is going to be. So you want to make sure that you make it nice and plump. Now it's starting to slide, so I'm going to keep pushing it down. And I'm kind of holding my thumb there to keep kind of pushing it, just so that I can make sure that I'm keeping that little opening open. And that's getting pretty nice and plump. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to gently lay that down. And then I'm going to cut a piece of yarn. And I mean, you can cut it however long you want. This is probably a little bit too long actually, but you know, a good 6 to 8 inches is fine. So you want to grab your fork and turn it this way, and then just in one of the prongs, you want to slide your yarn through the prong. All right. And then turn it and take your yarn and slide it through one of the prongs on the end. And then pull your yarn evenly, and then you're going to knot it. Just pull it as tight as you can. And it may help to actually wrap it under there a second time. There we go. To help pull it really, really tight. You don't want to break your yarn, but you want to keep it definitely tight. And then slide it off the fork and pull it as tight as you can. Flip it over. And we're going to tie it again. And pull it very, very tight. And then this time we're going to knot it. All right. And then you're going to use these longer strands to use it to tie on. Now this is where your sharp scissors are going to come into play. You're going to ever so gently go into those loops and cut them. Now, if I were making a lot of pom-poms, I would do this over something that could collect the dust fibers that come off of the pom-pom. But since we're just doing a couple of these for a tutorial, I'm just going to do it right here on my table. And then just keep working your way all the way around. until you get all the loops. Looks like I got a couple more loops here. I'm just going to fluff it a minute, make sure I have all of my loops cut, and I think there's one more right there. Looks like two actually. All right. Now, the key is to just kind of trim it down and give it a little bit of a haircut. Make sure you don't cut those two long tails that you use to tie with, because that's what you would use to secure it to your work. Kind of get those out the way. And you do end up cutting off a good bit to make it a nice and tight pom-pom. So this is a good project even to do using your scrap yarn if you wanted. I'm just about finished trimming. Let's just go ahead and take a look at that. Now I see a couple little places left that need a little bit of trimming. Like right there. And there is your fork pom-pom. And for me, I prefer to cut that real quick and that. And then I'm going to trim that top just a little bit more. There we go. And there is your fork pom-pom. All right. Let's look at method 2. You're going to need the yarn that you're going to use, 2 toilet paper rolls, and then get a piece of cardboard, and you can use a glass, you can use a quarter, you can use a jar, whatever, however the size pom-pom you want. That's the circumference you need to use to draw onto your cardboard and cut out 2 circular pieces. Once you cut out the 2 circular pieces, take your scissors, and I just simply took one end of my scissors and poked a hole in just one of my pieces of cardboard. Okay, all right, so we're going to get started. Take your toilet paper rolls, put them on your finger, and drop your yarn between the toilet paper rolls, and just kind of pinch them long enough to get it started, and then you're just going to wrap your yarn. And again, just remember, the more yarn you use to wrap, the tighter and the fluffier your pom-pom is going to be. If you don't use a lot of yarn, then it will be a lot looser, and it will have like gaps and holes in the pom-pom, and it won't be as nice and tight and fluffy. So making pom-poms is kind of a yarn eater, but it does make a nice accent to your projects. And I've seen some people count and they wrap it like 60 times, but I just kind of go with my feel, so you can be the judge of how big you make yours. And again, the more yarn you use, the bigger the pom-pom, and again, the tighter and fluffier it will be. Okay. And this is looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead, and you can see kind of the thickness I have. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. So now I'm just going to cut some yarn, and some people only do like 6 to 8 inches. I like to make sure I have enough, not only for my tying around the pom-pom, but when I'm securing it to my work. So I would rather have a little too much than not enough. So I'm cutting a piece, you know, about so big. All right, so then take it, and you're going to bring it and put it between the 2 pieces of cardboard, and be careful you're not pulling your yarn off the toilet paper roll just yet. Wrap it around and bring it between the other 2 pieces. And then you want to make sure it's about the same size, so I'm going to put them about the same size, and then just kind of pull it on it until it is. And there we go. See, it's about the same size. And then you're going to take it, and you're going to knot it on. And then I like to wrap it a second time to just kind of secure it in there, and pull it as tight as you can. And then I'm going to pull it back through the toilet paper roll. And I'm going to do it on the other side. And again, I'm just going to wrap it a second time through there, just to make sure it's staying on really good. And then now I'm just going to slide it off the toilet paper rolls. And then I'm going to pull it as tight as I can without breaking my yarn. And then I'm going to go ahead and knot it on there this time. Then I'm going to pull it through, find my little opening. And you don't have to do it a second time, but I'm just going to knot it on the other side. And that's just me. And again, just continue to pull it as tight as you can without breaking your yarn. And then there's my tails fur. All right, so now, just like we did on method 1, we're going to come in. This is going to be a nice big one. And we're just going to start cutting our loops. And I'm just kind of fluffing through there a minute to make sure I got all the loops there. And I'm just going to keep coming, cutting through my loops. There's some loops. And I see a couple more right there. I'm going to grab my 2 long tails to help me kind of shake it a minute. And then I'm just going to kind of go through it and fluff. I think I see one right there. And it looks like we have all of our loops. Okay. Now this next step, you can do the same if you use the fork method as well. All right, so grab your round pieces that you cut earlier. Let's push all this other stuff out the way for the moment. And grab your round pieces. Grab the one that you cut the hole in and just kind of feed your yarn through there, like so. And then you're going to take the other one. You want to make sure your yarn is all laying flat. And then you're going to push it together like so. And then you're going to squeeze it really tight. And then you're going to start trimming. Now, you can go all the way up to the cardboard, but I'm just showing you in case you don't have a big piece of cardboard that you can still make a bigger pom-pom. You just want to kind of make sure they're all even. But if you absolutely want your pom-pom the size of your cardboard cut, then cut all the way up to the cardboard. The biggest thing is you want to make sure that your cut ends are fairly even. And you can see some of those dust fibers flying besides the yarn falling. Just make sure you hold on to it really tight. And I'm going to come back. I'm going to kind of grab this edge right here. All right, so let's just see what that's done so far. All right. And then now, if you want to leave it that big, which I'm going to for the hat that I'm doing, I'm just going to trim it up, or you can make it smaller by, like I said, putting your pieces back together and trimming all the way down to the cardboard. But I want it to stay kind of nice and big and fluffy, so I'm just going to cut and trim just a little bit. Some of these bigger pieces that are hanging out. Yeah, like right here, I really got some. Toward the base here that I want to be a little bit smaller. Oh yeah, you can see them that way. And that's what I suggest. Just look at your pom-pom from different angles. To get a better view. And for the hat I made, I am really happy with the size of that pom-pom. But that is method 2. So let's go take a look at method number 3. Method number 3 is how I make my pom-poms now. Method number 2 was the way that I made my pom-poms until I actually bought myself a pom-pom making kit. This kit is a pom-pom and tassel maker. These that came separate that are clover, I'm just going to show you real quick how you use these. You pull these apart and you wrap your yarn around both of these ends, and then you close it together, and then you do the same thing with this piece. And after you have yarn wrapped around all 4 of these little ends, you then put it together like that, and then you'll simply just take your scissors and go in between these little sections right here, and you would trim your loops, and then you would pull it apart and your pom-pom would come out, and then you'd have your pom-pom and you'd trim it. Okay, same thing with this little one. These are just different size pom-pom makers, so these are little pom-poms. Now this little kit, it did take me a while to get used to, but it has worked completely different. And let's see, we're going to use, I think, this one. Yeah, let's use this size. You just use 1. So let's push all this out the way, and let's grab the yarn we're going to use. We're going to grab some white yarn, and this time I'm going to use 2 different colors. Now you don't always have to use 1 color. You can use 2, you can use 3, 4, variegated. I lost my tail. There we go. So I have found that it's easier if I do kind of like a slip knot. To help hold my yarn in place. You're going to actually slip your yarn through the center on the end here, and then you're going to wrap it around to the front and secure it on this end. Then you're going to turn it, wrap it around the back, and secure it through those slits right there. Okay? And then now we're going to start wrapping our yarn. So we're just going to start wrapping, and you have to kind of work around those little tail ends just to get started. They kind of get in the way, but I like having that there to secure it on, and then having just a little bit of extra. And then you just begin wrapping. And as I've said before, the more yarn you put on, the tighter and the fluffier your pom-pom is. And whether you're using this little tool or you're using one of these from Clover, you always want to make sure, let me open this one so you can see, that when you're wrapping your yarn, that you keep wrapping until your arch goes away and disappears, where your yarn is literally going straight across together. And I'll show you as I get more wrapped on here. But I'm going to go ahead and pause this a minute and get this yarn wrapped on here, and I'm just going to keep wrapping until I have it nice and tight and full, and again my arch has disappeared. Alright, so I just continued wrapping it around several different layers, going back and forth until I got to the part where my arch is no longer an arch. So I'm now going to snip my yarn. I'm going to push these out the way. All right. And then I'm going to come over here to this right side. And I'm going to just snip that side. And I'm then going to pull my slip knot out here. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to release this side and pull my yarn through. And kind of center it so my pieces are centered. And then I am just going to pull them tight. I'm going to go ahead and wrap that a second time and pull them really tight. And knot it down. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to follow the guide and start snipping. You just have to kind of snip a little at a time. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was off the camera a little bit. Sorry about that. It's really thick, so you just have to snip just a little bit at a time. Oh, that's going to be pretty. It's going to be a pretty pom-pom. All right. And then when you have them all done, you're just going to pull your tool away. That was that little extra piece that ran through the back. Oh wow, this is going to be a really pretty one. All right. And then at this point, we are just going to trim up our edges. Now before I start trimming it, I always like to make sure that my pom-poms are extremely secure. So I am going to grab my yarn and I'm going to cut another little piece. I really like this pom-pom. That is so pretty. And I am just going to try and find the center of my pom-pom. All right, so that's pretty much the center of my pom-pom. But now I want to secure it, make sure it's really secure. So I'm going to go and do it the opposite direction. From how it was originally tied. And I'm going to do it from this direction so that I know that they are nice and tight and secured in there. And then I'm just going to knot that down. And knot it one more time. And then these are now the two yarns that I'm going to use as my secure on pieces. And you can see those are right there, my 4 original ones, because they're a lot longer. But anyway, so now I know that my pom-pom is nice and secure. And so now I'm just going to, those are probably my 4 right there that were my original, but I'm just going to now start trimming up my pom-pom. And again, it's good to hold it from different angles to get a better look at it. And then I like to shake it out so it fluffs it out like that for me. Oh yeah, see how those just come to the top? I see just a couple more right there. And there is my pretty pom-pom. Oh, I got one little piece right. There we go. So now I'm going to take a minute and actually secure these to the hats that I am making for the Hat Not Hate project to show you what they look like on the hats. Again, this is the Pom Pom that we made using the fork. This is the pom-pom that we use making with the toilet paper rolls and the round cardboard cutouts. And this is the pom-pom that we use making the making with the pom-pom maker. So they all are cute, and I hope that you found this tutorial to be informative and helpful. If so, please be sure and give it a thumbs up. And before you go, if you have not already hit subscribe or you're new to my channel, be sure and hit the subscribe button and then ring the bell so you receive all future notifications of all upcoming videos. And be joyful, stay crafty in your own way, and make your own joyful creations. See you next time.